Have you ever noticed certain big YouTube channels that sell their coaching or their guides have a new video every week about the best champions to climb with? They list 15 new champs each time and they have a new video each week. Isn't that a little weird? Well, the truth is they're just trying to get you to watch a new video every week because they never show you the data and let you decide for yourself if what they are saying is true. In this video, I'm going to cover the top 2 champs per role that are statistically strong right now and also extremely easy to pick up. No offense to the women of Florida State University. This video will focus on champs who are strong in the gold and silver environment. If you're watching this video and you might have stalled in your last push to reach your goal, be that getting gold for the skin or hitting plat by the end of the season, these champs might help you get there. We're going to start off in the top lane with Nasus. Each champion, we're going to show you their win rate and their delta, which will show you the difference between someone with 0 games experience and 50 games experience on the champion. That means, for instance, on Nasus, someone with 50 games experience on him will have a 3.3% higher win rate than someone with 0 games. Nasus is strong in every elo right now, but Riot's favorite Stargate villain is particularly strong in silver and gold where games last longer. Focus on farming your Q up and build Divine Sunderer. You'll notice a theme in this video. All the champs who are really strong right now were getting pushed around by Gore Drinker builders, but after the nerfs they've come to the top. Nasus top only has one really bad matchup. He loses hard to Lilia. Garen and Tahm Kench are slightly negative, but he has a positive win rate against everyone else. I would ban Garen and dodge Lilia. If you get Tahm, play very passively early and you will out-snowball him. As a bonus, Nasus is actually one of the strongest mid laners right now, but he's rarely picked there. He absolutely slaps Yasuo, Zed, Aurelia, and Annie, so you can flex him there if your mid laner doesn't want to play against one of them. Next up we have Tahm Kench, who everyone hates playing against for good reason. He can snowball and make your lane miserable. If Nasus is too much of a mid-game champion for you, then Tahm might be right up your alley. His win rate goes up the higher elo you go because higher elo players are better at using him to deny farm to enemy top laners. With Tahm, you should buy pink wards and use your vision control to pressure your enemy top laner as much as you can to get early advantages and snowball the game. You want to get ahead and push your advantage. Tom's worst matchup is Lilia, and his most common bad matchup is Camille. Ban Camille and dodge Lilia, and you'll do well. Our honorable mentions are all high win rate champions who take longer to master. Mundo is the highest win rate top right now, but he's one of those champions who's very deceptively hard to learn like Nunu. They seem simple, and their kits are simple. That means that if you make a mistake, you don't have an ability to jump out of trouble like you're playing Camille. These quote-unquote simple champions therefore often have higher mastery deltas because their positioning is more intricate and you need a better read on their capabilities. Garen is basically the exact same. His win rate is a bit lower, but his delta is large. Urgot ate some nerfs earlier this season, but also benefited from the Gore Drinker nerf. It remains a good item to build on him, but you can also build Frostfire or the new Prowler Squad build depending on the situation. Corki is the most unusual one. He's a legit good pick top. He still has insane scaling, and he can do similar things to other range tops like Quinn, Vayne, or Draven. But his rocket jump is a very good escape if you get engaged on. Very few people know about this pick, and he's more high elo skewed. That's why I've kept him in honorable mentions. But if you can farm him up 2 or 3 items, then you have a good shot at winning the game. Now we're going to move on to the jungle, where we have Trundle, who is near and dear to my heart. His pillar is one of the most fun abilities in the game when you use it correctly. Trundle's main mythic is Divine Sunderer, which means that the Gore Drinker nerfs have helped him a lot. He doesn't scale very well, so be aggressive early and attack the map. You don't want to be farming a lot on this guy. Accelerate the game. Trundle actually has 0 losing matchups in the jungle, and his only bad matchup across all lanes is Lilia top. I seem to be seeing that one a lot, so maybe I'll investigate her in a later video. Overall, your best ban for Trundle jungle is Vayne, since she bothers you in 2 lanes. There are no dodge-worthy matchups. Next up is Vi. Riot knew Violet was about to be the poster child from Arcane, so she finally got quality of life adjustments she's needed for 5 years, and she plays much more smoothly now. She also really benefited from the, say it with me, Gore Drinker nerfs. Vi scales better than Trundle, so early in the game you want to farm and gank a bit more safely to get yourself Divine Sunderer and Sterix. Vi is really strong mid to late game because of her tankiness and damage combinations, along with her ult being point and click on the most fed target. Her worst jungle matchups are Trundle and Warwick, but those are barely losing matchups. Ban Warwick or Lux for Vi, no need to dodge any matchups. For the jungle honorable mentions, first off we have Warwick, who's the highest rated jungler, and his delta is just a little worse than Vi or Trundle, but it's not too bad. If you think you can tame the beast, he's a good choice. Amumu falls right below our 2 featured junglers and has a slightly higher delta, which is odd because people consider him dead simple. After his recent mini rework, he may require a bit more decision making than before. Nocturne is one of the lowest deltas in the game, and you can expect to succeed with him extremely quickly. He's a great choice if his style appeals to you, and his ult guarantees you a Stridebreaker application on your target, which makes him very hard to escape. Nunu we mentioned earlier, right now he's the 4th highest delta in the game, which means your early Nunu games are going to be rough. Lots of people think of him as a simple character, but Riot released data a few years ago at the time. He was also a very high delta character, so he's consistently hard to learn. Now we move on to the mid lane. I've been spending a lot of time on the subreddit r/flashlights. I've always had a thing for very bright flashlights ever since I was a teenager, and I bought this bootleg Chinese flashlight that weighed 10 pounds and was powered by a car battery. We called it the Sun. My friends and I would drive around on Friday nights and pull up to the beach and ask people if they had a light, like we needed one for a cigarette. Then, when they said no, we would be like, "Don't worry, we do," and then we would turn on the Sun and drive away. I'm still not really sure why I didn't go on many dates in high school. Anyway, Lux is League's bootleg flashlight. She's bright, overpowered, and if you spend your Friday nights fiddling with her, you probably won't go on many dates. After that, we have someone you absolutely should not go on any dates with. Annie is the lowest Delta champion on our list, meaning that you can dive in and start climbing with her straight away. The biggest innovation recently is the Predator rune, which has become her best choice. Similar to how it is now with a lot of mid laners with closer range CC such as Veigar. People have been advising playing Annie because she's simple and she wins since I started the game. The advice was good 10 years ago, it's good now. Pick Annie and you'll climb. Her worst matchup is Lux, and it's one of the most common, so ban Lux for sure. Every honorable mention here is a niche pick. Nasus we've already mentioned. Kayle wins against all her most common mid lane matchups, and she really beats them on Katarina. In games in Gold and Silver, her scaling will come into play more often, so she's a good pick. Zillion is a pick who's been broken in mid for years, but Zillion is never touched in the patch notes. He hasn't had a buff or nerf for 5 years. I remember a writer came out and said, if more people played Zillion, we'd have to nerf him, but thankfully for you, most people don't. He does take a while to master. Singed is the highest win rate mid right now by quite a bit, and he especially destroys Yasuo, Aurelia, and Twisted Fate, but he may pre-tilt your team, which is especially important this close to season's end. In bot, we'll be doing 4 entries and no honorable mentions. I did it this way because AP bots are clearly better than ADCs, but I know some people don't want to play AP in the bot lane, so we will cover both. Karthus bot is first, and although you'll expect him to mega scale like jungle Karthus, he's actually good in bot forcing his will in the early game. If you can take a fight early that results in you dying, and the enemy ADC, you take that because you will use the gold better than they will. If you can convince a Mumu to support you, you are golden. Karthus is weakest against Kog'Maw and Vayne, but Vayne is much more common than Kog, so ban her. Seraphine is next, but it could have easily been Swain. I've already done a video about him, and there will probably be another one soon, so we'll cover Seraphine here. Don't fall into the trap of building Sarah with Moonstone. That's bad here and in mid. Your best mythics are Ludens or Liandry's. Think of Sarah as a Lux-type character. She's really good at pushing waves, does AoE damage, and has an AoE shield. Play her that way, try to get a mythic and then Seraphs, and then you are a nuke. She prefers beefy supports who can protect her, like Maokai, Alistar, or Taric. She is weakest against Ziggs and Vayne, so ban Vayne as she is much more common. Misfortune is our first ADC. During Worlds, she was the most picked champ in the game, but she's fallen off some since then. She's still a great ADC, and the alt buffs have really pushed her over the top. You can build multiple mythics on her, but Eclipse is your best bet. Kraken and Gale Force are your other options. Kraken for shredding tanky characters, and Gale Force when you need extra mobility. She prefers an aggressive gank support like the classic Blitzcrank or the more recent Amumu. She has no really terrible matchups, so you can ban Ziggs or Soraka or whoever you hate the most. Did you guys hear that Uzi might return to pro play? I'm pretty excited about the prospect because Vayne looks so good in his hands. Speaking of which, Vayne has a reverse pick in win rate. She's picked more in lower elos, and she wins more in higher elos. She still has a really good win rate in gold because she has time to scale into the monster that she is. Immortal Shield Bow should always be her mythic choice because it gives her more survivability that she really needs. Vayne is good with just about any support, but Soraka is your best choice as she can keep her safe and farming. Vayne loses to Misfortune, Sona, and Zyra. Ban MF since you will encounter her much more than the other two. Finally, we come to the supports. First up is Sona. Sona is all about scaling. Just survive the early game and scale into the late game and the odds are that you will win. Her auras and teamfights are so strong that as long as you survive, your team shouldn't lose. The problem with her is that it feels like you're always playing COD zombies because they're always trying to run you down, and you can feel like you spend the entire game living by a hair's breadth. I don't really pay attention to the lore, but in my headcanon, this PTSD is why Sona doesn't talk anymore. If you are playing solo, be prepared to sack your ADC if they make a terrible play. It's better that you live than to feed 2 kills. Mute all as your friend if they get mangry. If you are playing Sona, ban Amumu or Blitz. You'll see Blitz more, so he is the better ban. Our final featured pick is Soraka. She's kind of like a mid-game Sona. She is stronger around 20 minutes and falls off around 30 minutes. Other than that, she's basically a cut and paste Sona, except instead of being a zombie PTSD survivor, she's a purple space unicorn. I can't wait to see that in Arcane. Vayne is Soraka's best duo partner. Her best bans are Blitz or Vayne. If the 2 featured supports aren't your cup of tea, these 4 honorable mentions are much more aggressive and may suit your style more. I'm actually not sure why Blitz is so high right now, but it's probably because Leona has eaten a bunch of nerfs recently due to pro play, and she's always been his best counter. It's just like nerfing sharks. Groupers become S tier without buffs. I personally hate laning against Zyra, but I generally try to play the lane safe because she falls off so hard. If you are playing her, play aggressively and push your advantage. Maokai ate some nerfs recently because he's such a popular support in Korea, but he stayed strong. Build Deadman's Plate first instead of a mythic and engage for free wins. Lux is our 2-role flex. She recently got overbuffed. Make sure you ult the minion wave accidentally to steal them from your ADC. Don't worry, it'll be off cooldown soon anyway. If you're going to try and climb these last few days, it'll be a wild ride. You'll probably have to deal with boosters, sometimes on your team, sometimes on the other team. I would highly recommend you turn off all chat. It's going to be more cancerous than it ever was during the year. If you have asbestos-coated eyes, you can leave it on and try to be positive. Dropping a simple good job has been shown to improve teammates' performances. Good luck on your climb.